Test, 1, 2. Hello. Are you starting this off?
I am. All right. Hey, y'all. We have a quorum, so we are going to go ahead and get started knowing that we're on a time crunch and have important business. I do want you to notice on the agenda, I have moved new business above reports, and that's intentional just because I want to make sure everyone's here for this governing documents talk. I hope that we can keep choir and all the other people that have to scatter at 10:30 around then for the reports, but I wanted to make sure we're all here for the big vote. So I'm going to ask Pastor Nathan to open us in prayer.
Good morning, church. I'm so happy to see so many people show up to talk about a constitution. Would you give yourselves a round of applause? There's no sexier thing in the church than talk about constitution. The Lord be with you. Gracious God, thank you for Rejoice Lutheran Church, for these precious people, and for the gift of structure and documents like this that help us form and guide and shape our lives. May your spirit be in the midst of it, in the conversation of it. May clarity reign, and may a clear vote reign too. And for anything else, Lord, that's needful for us today. We got war waging on the planet and so much concern and need. We trust you, the God of the death and resurrection of Jesus, to be ahead of us in all of our concerns. In, with, and through you, Jesus the Christ, we pray. Amen.
All right, so we're going to get Miss Nyla up here. Oh, okay. Okay, so we are going to jump down to an announcement real quick. We, previous to all of this, had planned on our forum for council to be around here in March, and we wanted to make sure that this month that we gave acknowledgement to the Ascend Band and all they do and bring to our church. And so if you're a member of the Ascend Band, if you'd stand up so that we can give you an applause and thank you for everything you pour into our church. And so these beautiful flowers were arranged by Jen Marvel from the council in honor of the Ascend Band. So just wanted to make sure everyone knew that. Okay, then we're going to pop back over to Nyla with the big meaty stuff.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. So yesterday we had a meeting for anyone that had questions, but we did not have anyone show, which is fine, which makes us happy, thinking that there aren't any significant questions. However, we wanted to open it up, first of all, to see if there was anyone that had anything that they had questions about. And if not, we did have some high-level change slides, so it doesn't take a lot of time to go through it. But we did want to open it up, first of all, before we go through these, if there's anyone. First? Okay. All right. So the first thing we were going to talk about is our Constitution high-level changes. If you've got packets, you can look through what was the side-by-side that I want to acknowledge Megan did all of those slides, except she did actually do all the slides for the side-by-side. So I want to thank Megan for doing that for us. Okay. I also want to acknowledge there were several council members and other people of the congregation that gave us a lot of feedback. And I had a small little team of people that really helped pull this together. Roy was also one of them, Megan, and then Laura B. was on the phone with us, and I know Debbie. There's been so many people helping, so thank you all. Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to talk through first that there are certain clauses in the Constitution that are not negotiable as far as us making any changes. I was required to follow the current model. So the clauses that are not open for discussion are chapters 1 through 9 and chapters 15 through 19. Are there any questions regarding that? Okay. So regarding congregation meetings, we changed 10.01, if you wanted to look at the Constitution. We changed it to reflect, or you can look at Megan's side-by-side. That might actually be the best because I don't have the full summaries up here. So chapter 10.01, we changed to reflect that the congregation shall have at least 2 regular meetings per year. I think it only said an annual meeting or something like that. So that's just a minor thing, but we just wanted to make sure everyone realizes that is definitely being put into the Constitution. And then it was some kind of typo, I guess it said it was 10 voting members, but it needs to be 10% of voting members. And the president of the council, and I should say shall call, that was my typo, on a Wednesday night very late, a special meeting upon request of the synod bishop. And does everyone know who our bishop is? It's Bishop Gronberg. Okay. All right, congregation meeting continued. We edited to reflect the notice of the meetings are permitted by mail or electronic means. It used to say just by mail. And what we're trying to get to is to try to see if we can save some money a little bit on all these mailings. And we may come up with a plan of how we're going to do that, but right now we're going to say that it is permitted by electronic or by mail. And we will follow the current directory. And then we have a new clause: the congregation may hold meetings by remote communication, so including electronic and by telephone conference, as long as there's opportunity, and that should say oral, O-R-A-L, communication, to the extent permitted by state law. So we're going to make sure all the notices are always given, though. Okay, officers. We edited to reflect the president and vice president are the officers of the congregation at the annual meeting. They'll serve for 1 year until their successors are elected, and their term shall begin at the end of the annual meeting at which they are elected, which is normally, we hold that in June. And then the next clause we edited reflect that no elected officer shall be eligible to serve more than 3, changed from 2 consecutive terms in the same office. And our terms, we have kind of tried to really define what that is, and that's going to be like 3 years. Okay? And Pastor helped us a lot. Yep, right. And the pastor helped us a lot with this, okay? So the voting membership of the council has changed to 9 members, which includes the officers of this congregation. So it's going to be, your officers are 4, which are your president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, and then 5 additional council members. And then we also are adding 1 additional youth member. We're not going to make it a requirement, but if we do have a youth that's available, we want them to be part of the council. The members of the council shall be elected to serve for 3 years, which is 1 term, which shall begin at the close of the annual meeting at which they are elected. And then this is kind of something that I want to make sure everyone understands. We can enter into contracts up to an amount of $50,000 or 5% of the annual budget, whichever number is larger for items not included in the budget. We changed it from just saying $5,000 for an expenditure. So I want to stop there. Is there any questions regarding that? Okay, thank you very much. All right, now the Congregation Council, and again, it's just to match what was in the previous clause, that we may incur obligations of the greater of 5% or $50,000 in excess of the anticipated receipts only after approval by a congregation meeting. Previously, it just was an obligation of 10%, but no dollar amount. And then a new provision, again, it's just talking about that we may hold meetings by remote communication, including electronically and by telephone conference. Okay? And then our committees. We just wanted to spell out to make sure everyone knows who is the executive committee. It just used to say president, and I think it was just president and vice president previously. Yeah, I think it just said officers, yeah. So we're trying to make it very clear. And then in the absence of an outside audit, we have changed this, and there will be 1 additional slide. We had quite a bit of discussion at our last meeting that audit kind of implies that you're doing, well, maybe Roy, you're really good at this. Okay, you got me?
Yeah.
We don't want
So, obviously, I'm not a finance person, but what I understand from what everyone shared is an audit really implies that it is an outside and independent look, and our audit committee, which is what it's been called previously, is truly more of a financial review committee because the people on the committee are members of our church and probably give to our church and are involved in the working of our church. So we felt that it was more accurate to call this committee a financial review committee. And previously, it's always been in our constitution that we can call an outside audit where we would pay for that and have an audit, or do our internal audit. And we're just changing the word audit for the internal one to financial review. So it's not changing the function of or the way that committee operates. We're just becoming more accurate with our language.
And we did change that in the bylaws as well. Both of them are spelled out as audit. Okay, did we cover all that? Oh, okay, then the next one is the call committee. Nothing changed there regarding the number, but what we wanted to make sure is that we are going to do due diligence as a council to find people that represent all of the demographics of this congregation if we do need to call a new pastor. Yep, that's all we added. And then, okay. So, is any questions on the constitutional changes? Do you want to then call a vote, or do we want to do that later?
Oh, I guess, do we
Want to call a vote? Should we vote them together or vote separately? No, Constitution first.
Constitution, can I get a second?
No, Pastor wants to say something. Yes.
With the 9-person council, this was my recommendation. Like 2-3 years now, we've turned over half the council every year. That's ridiculous. It means we have no institutional knowledge sitting on that body, and that actually hurts the church. It also is hard because we're not a big church. I mean, we're comfortable size, but it's hard to find people to serve. So with the new 9-person council, we'll stagger that so only 3 people are rotating off any given year. It's much easier to find, and it creates a more historic memory sitting at that table. So we don't lose as much every year with a turnover. So I just want to throw that out there.
Awesome. Did we get a second? Did you see? Tom. Any discussion? Okay, David. I'm going to give you the microphone so that.
I just have one suggestion, and that's the name of the church. Right. It was in there. Right. No, this is at the top of chapter 1. Yeah. I think it should be, if we're shortening it, it's fine. But I think it should be Rejoice Lutheran Coppell. Because there's only one Coppell in the whole of the United States. There's no other city named Coppell. There are at least 10 other churches across the country named Rejoice Lutheran Church. In fact, there's one 20 miles away from us in DFW named Rejoice in Frisco. So I think we still need to keep our community identity, so I would suggest Rejoice Lutheran Coppell. Everybody knows Lutheran is a church, so.
And again, just restate how you want to say the name of the congregation shall be Rejoice Lutheran of Coppell, Texas, or Rejoice Lutheran Church of Coppell, Texas.
Okay, so we've got a proposed amendment to the motion that we would approve the changes as written, and with the addition of the name being Rejoice Lutheran Coppell. Is that a fair amendment of your motion? You're good, Kyle, with your motion? Yeah.
A very minor thing. Let's just keep it the same as Rejoice Lutheran Church of Coppell, Texas, instead of saying Coppell. I want us to be more inclusive to the whole Metroplex.
Okay, so can I make a suggestion real quick? I'm going to slow us down. I'm going to say that we take a vote on Kyle's original motion, and then we take a separate motion on name.
No, we don't vote.
No?
Have discussion. Don't vote. Nobody seconded that amendment. You can't vote.
But I'm not voting on that amendment. I'm saying, can we go back to Kyle's original motion? No?
Not until.
Okay.
But are we approved? Was his motion to approve the Constitution as presented?
The changes that were presented. Okay.
That's the motion we're supposed to be voting on. We're discussing another change in there, and if David wants to change that, he has to make a motion to do that, and somebody has to second it, and then we can vote. So you can't vote yet.
Okay. All right, so
Rules of order.
that's what I'm trying to follow. Thank you for the help. So we do not have a motion on the name yet, and we've got some discussion here on Rejoice Lutheran Coppell versus Rejoice Lutheran Church of Coppell, Texas, which was what was in the Constitution prior. Any other discussion or motions around that?
Everyone looks at where Megan had to change, just to be sure, it's on the Constitution, C 1.01, which is the side-by-side
And I agree, this is Dora, and I agree with her that it probably should have Rejoice Lutheran Church of Coppell, Texas, because it kind of identifies as, who we are and where we are.
Okay, I've got a comment over here. So what is the name then? Well, right now we're working on it. We're working on it.
Okay, if we can all just take a breath for a second so I can get caught up, so we can accurately depict this level of conversation. So my understanding is that I will capture that Kyle motioned, Linda seconded it. Then discussion was brought about the name. Am I correct so far, Pam and Brenda? Perfect. Then I'm going to capture that Brenda suggested that we keep as is because it's more encompassing of those who live in Euless, Texas. Then I'm going to capture that who just made the motion. Dora, did you make the motion or just discussing? That's why I'm asking for clarification. Thank you. So, okay, that is news to me. All right, so we also got a Robert's Rules lesson today, so thank you, Pam, because, those of us who don't do this for a living, we appreciate that.
Okay, so we're discussing, is there a motion around the name, or does someone have anything to add to the discussion? Yes, and the discussion includes a disagreement with the current motion. So then are we just... Right, but the Constitution as proposed has a different name here that we disagree with. So someone inform me how to move forward. I'm doing it wrong. Okay, I've got an amended motion. Is there a second? Pam seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? All right, so that motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you, and thank you for the help with the process.
All right. The bylaws, high-level summary of changes. If you want to follow along on Megan's side-by-sides, I'm just summarizing. On 3.2D, it's a new addition. This one is really great, I believe. And Laura B. was one of the ones that was an advocate for this. And if you're online, hi, Laura. The Congregation Council will capture online attendance and voting at congregational meetings. The format that captures the attendance and voting will require an online proctor. And format will be determined prior to the congregational meetings, and it will be provided to the congregation. We haven't really figured that out yet, but we're going to make sure that someone is capturing yays, nays, discussion. I think this is a wonderful change. Okay? Elections. Again, we've kind of been going over this in the Constitution, but within each 3-year term, President and Vice President will be elected by the Council each year and can serve up to 3 consecutive years. It was changed from officers serving 2 consecutive terms. The nominating committee will prevent, and what Pastor talked about, sufficient nominations for open members on the council to maintain a maximum of 9 active council members with an additional spot for a youth. And then 3 council members to be elected each year, and the term is 3 years, electable for a maximum of 2 consecutive terms.
All right, we got a question or comment.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I got a question on the last slide.
Oh, sorry.
The voting will require online proctor. I know you mentioned that we're still figuring it out, but what would that look like with a closed ballot vote or a paper ballot vote?
Here.
What would that look like?
Here. Is this on?
There are ways to do that through Zoom. to capture closed ballots. So that'll be something that the council with an online proctor, whoever ends up doing that, will have a way to capture that in an anonymous way. Yeah, that's one of the things we'll have to figure it out. We did this in my previous call. I know it can be done cleanly and well. And because we actually have stuff in our Constitution that recognizes we have a distant community, we actually need to have a way to include people. Yeah, but yes. I mean, most of the voting we do around here is not, but for the times that we are, we'll have that figured out. So.
Shouldn't the thing be changed from will to shall? Because if you will, then you're in violation of it if you don't.
It's a great question.
So you're in violation if it says will, but shall is not. Explain. Hold on. Let me get you a microphone.
You have a conversational meeting that says will capture instead of shall. You're in violation if you don't. Yeah. Or may.
Okay. So there's discussion about that. Is there any other discussion regarding that?
Let's write that one down, and then we'll go through the rest of the slides, and then we can.
Okay, so the suggestion is the format will shall require. Or may. Which one? May? May?
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right, I've captured that. And Juliana, did you get that? Okay. All right. I'm trying to make sure Juliana can keep up with us. Okay, Chapter 4 elections. An individual served 2 consecutive terms as an active council member may be reconsidered as a nominee for council after a minimum of 1-year hiatus. And the council, again, is just continually reinforcing about the 9 members. And then at the first meeting following election of the president, vice president, the congregation council will nominate and select a secretary and treasurer. And then within each 3-year term, secretary and treasurer will be nominated and voted on annually and can serve up to 3 consecutive years. So Megan, you got to keep doing what you're doing.
It says may, not will.
No, I'm sorry. No. A person selected to fulfill an unexpired term of a member may seek up to a 1-year term of his or her own. And I'm sorry, it says 6B. It's just supposed to be 6B. The total number of years any one person will be permitted to serve on the council shall not be more than 6 consecutive years, inclusive of any partial years. All right, now, we added a couple things to the treasurer. Sorry, Megan, this is going to be on you. For whatever reason, the first one was never in there about assisting in building the annual budget and presenting to the congregation. So that was just something that was completely missing. The next one, I want everyone, I'm going to read it slowly, but everyone needs to read it too. We're going to review designated financial resources that are not needed or used within 2 years of their gifting, which may include recommendations that these resources be reassigned to other areas of need or to the general fund by vote of the council. Reassignment of these designated gifts will require approval by the donors whenever possible. In addition, a gift policy will be maintained by the council, which will be implemented whenever new gifts are donated for specific purposes. Is there any questions, discussion around that clause?
I'm coming with a microphone. We spent a long time going around. This is probably what took the longest of all of it.
It did.
I just want to understand, and just using an example, money is donated for parking lot lights, say, specifically. Are the 2 years, is that from like the minute the money's donated or after we decide we don't need new parking lot lights? Could you just...
Yes, it would be a fund that has been inactive for 2 years. We've got funds for things that are not been touched in 10 years. And what that feels like is that maybe there's not energy or movement behind whatever that was, and at that time the council would review those funds that are not being used, and that review could end in, hey, we need to keep this here, or maybe there's a better use for this, and that discussion would then lead to contacting the people who donated to talk to them about maybe there's someone who's like, there is energy here and I will take it on. It's not saying after 2 years, this is gone. It's after 2 years, we're giving ourselves a mechanism to which the council can say, there is $30,000 sitting here that we can't use. And it's no longer moving us forward in our service to the world of this church. So,
Do you know who's donated each of those funds?
We've got record keeping on some. There's going to be some things that we're done at as a group thing, and then we're going to do our best. This is something, like if you look back to when we moved, sorry, I'm behind everyone now. When we moved everything over to QuickBooks years ago, there were some of this that just got put in a fund that we don't know even what they are from, right? There's just things. This is in no way to try and sideline any projects. This is just a way to make sure that we are using money that's given to us in a way that serves our church and the world.
And the gift policy isn't in place today, but that's new business that will be in place. And the gift policy would drive this. I think this is a great thing, having done the books for this church for many years. We've had things where people had great intentions to give gifts, and it really says we're going to talk to the donors when they're available, alive, and when possible. We've had times where people gave things to the donors that passed away. Somebody gave a lot of money for a pipe organ for the sanctuary. The pipe organ wasn't in the fit in the sanctuary. It wasn't really the best use of the funds. We contacted the people. We eventually gave the funds back. It's really a good thing to have this in place. I can speak from experience at my own congregation back in Oklahoma. Somebody gave a lot of money for a youth band. Great idea, super thing. Maintenance, all the things for the youth band was going to be more expensive than using other transportation. So while people give gifts and great intentions, a lot of times that's in moments of grief and other things. Sometimes we need to sit on that a little while to make the best decision. This is a great thing to put in place. The gift policy will need to drive it, and that's something the next council will work on.
Kevin, I see more hands. We're going to work from the back here.
I personally wouldn't do this, but I heard Brenda said they gave money back. So like if the donor really wanted a youth van and that's what so you would refund their money if that's the only thing they wanted to do.
That's what it says.
That'd be laid out specifically in the policy how that would work, but
But you actually have it in the language. Reassignment of these designated gifts will require approval by the donors whenever possible. So that is a discussion with the donors.
Yeah, I see that, but I mean, normally that would be to give it to something else. But if they really, that's the only thing they wanted,
You're
then.
going to work that with the donors, and I think you got to do this in good faith.
Okay.
Yeah. The gift policy will drive it.
That's
So
all,
you can
yeah.
put that in the gift policy. And the policy, since it's a policy, would have to be voted on by the congregation.
So one of the things that hasn't been clear in our documents is it a designated gift or is it a restricted gift? Those are different in terms of legally binding. In any case, from a nonprofit fundraising standpoint, wherever possible you want to work with donors, if dollars need to be reassigned for any purpose, it's just best practice to go back and say, hey, Pam, you gave a $5,000 gift for X and X, and there's no energy to do that anymore, or the reason for that doesn't exist anymore. Can we repurpose this? And she has the ability to say yes or no. If it's a designated gift, the council can make a decision. If it's a restricted gift, the council may not make a decision. Restricted means legally binding. So our gift policy will clarify this, so when people are making gifts, we have clarity. Is this a designated gift, so there's some latitude here, or is this a restricted gift? I know everybody's eyes are rolling in the back of their heads now. This actually really matters, and it matters because we're a volunteer giving organization. People need to know when they give their gifts to the church, they're going to be used for the purposes to which they're intended. And there's gradations of this. So we're just trying to get clear about this, and you can blame the new interim pastor for this conversation.
Right now, all these gifts are designated, none of them.
I believe that's correct.
Yes. Yeah, they're all designated. We never restricted it. Yeah.
I have a question about if the donor passes away, does the authority over this pass along to their kids or grandkids or whatever? And if the grandkids said, well, you never did anything with it, I want the $5,000 back. What do you do? And then can you use it for anything then?
Family, when a gift is given from a donor to an organization, if they pass away, it belongs to the organization, not the family.
And I think the thing to keep in mind is this says 2 years, which means it's the council's responsibility. I can speak really loud, I know you need that.
I think what you need to see is here is it says 2 years of the funds not being used. So the thing that's important with this is that it means that we have to be looking at the funds that aren't getting used. And so those kinds of instances will be less and less because it's making you make sure that if you had a designated gift, you're making sure that it is getting used for the right intention. So it's a good thing to keep that looking on it because needs in the world change. And so we need to make sure the gift policy will drive it. I applaud you guys for putting this in there.
All right. Thank you all for that discussion.
We still have a few more slides. Are we good
and
to
I really
move?
thank you all for being patient.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. And then this one, is Deborah Mason here? Does everyone know our financial secretary is Deborah Mason? A lot of you may not know that. She's been doing this for years and years and years. So I want to thank Deborah.
Let's give her an applause in case she's watching.
Yeah. So she reviewed what was currently in the bylaws, and there was a couple things that she didn't do, and I removed that. But then we did add that she does not have voting rights, just so everyone knows that. It didn't spell that out. And she may remain in this position indefinitely. So, and she has been. So, okay. And then this is also something, it had said that the pastor was responsible for all of the records.
And we all know that Jocelyn's the one doing it.
Yes.
So.
And so I added that his delegate, Jocelyn, can do this digitally or physically. And then the other thing was, it currently had said that the council had a policy on maintaining records. And Bishop Gronberg was very clear that he said, you should just follow what's currently out there on the internet for ELCA. And that's what I've asked Jocelyn to do. So she's currently doing all of that, and she's following what's out there on the internet. We're not going to have a policy, a different one.
I've got a question over here. Hold on.
Yes, parish records.
So in the proposed, it should be pastor or his/her delegate.
Okay. There. Okay. So, all right. So
Just
that is
like
parish
speak real
records.
loudly. Does anyone have preference over there or his or her? His or her would be more
there.
Grammatically there.
Okay.
All right. We're going to change it to there.
There. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, okay, and I think we're almost done. And then this just talks about the audit committee being changed to financial review committee. That is it.
And that is it. So the changes that I heard us talk about before anyone makes a motion is we're changing from will to may up at the beginning where we had that discussion, and then changing from pastor, from his to there. Are there any other things that people want to kind of throw out there before we get a motion?
Accept the bylaws with the 2 changes as discussed.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we've got Pam and then Brenda, and then discussion before we vote. Okay, so I'm going to say if you're in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And abstentions? You guys, we did it. That wasn't so hard. And if you guys could just keep clapping for Nyla and also for all the people who helped her. But here's the deal. She had lots of help, so she doesn't want credit. But this has been a haul. She's been working on it for more than a year, recruiting different people, a lot of different opinions to make sure that she's getting it right and that she's guiding us in the right directions. And it's been a lot. So we just really appreciate her.
So I want to also tell you, now
Everyone
it has
buy
to
her a
go,
drink.
once we make these little changes, it will go now to the Synod. And I am going to be on top of that to try to make sure that it does get back to us approved by them so we can implement it before the June annual meeting. Yep, thank you.
Okay, and thank you all for voting. I know you have other places you need to sneak off to. But since we're all together, I did want to ask a few committees to give reports, just because we were going to do, this council committed to doing quarterly updates to the congregation through forums and such. So I wanted to give a chance for some of our committees to give reports. We understand if you need to step out for other obligations. Thank you for staying for the vote. So first we're going to go call committee.
Yay. Yay. Okay, not a whole lot of updates from the call committee. So as you know, last fall we had candidates that we were reviewing last year. We went back to the drawing board, and now we just reviewed one pastoral packet, I guess. But we're still we went back to the drawing board after reviewing that. So currently we are just waiting on the Synod to send us more packets, and we'll see what happens. So just keep us in your prayers. We're still doing our thing behind the scenes. Maylin, do you want to, any updates? No? Kind of, yeah, just kind of floating out here waiting for packets to come through. So, yes, sir. It's up to the Synod guidelines on that. They do review Lutheran, evangelical, and I don't know, Pastor Nathan, do you know more details on how they? It's in the Constitution and kind of what they look at. But it's based on the Synod guidelines on candidates they send. I don't know.
Well, just a review process. Let's say you know a Presbyterian pastor, Presbyterian USA pastor that might be a great fit for the congregation. You could give that name to Kyle and team. They would give it to the Synod. The Synod would vet the name, and then if they were interested, it would come back. That's process. So it's entirely possible. I mean, there's a United Methodist pastor who's serving as the interim lead pastor. He's in his 6th year now, so it's less and less interim as far as I'm concerned all the time. Just saying, that's right. Yeah, it's less and less interim all the time at King of Glory in Dallas. So we do have some examples of pastors from other traditions that we're in common communion agreement with, serving in Lutheran calls, but that's how it would happen. So occasionally, I'm pretty sure that gentleman's name came from the Synod office. That was a relationship they had, and they suggested it. So I'm sure that if there are those options out there, they're in consideration as well. But again, you guys can bring names, but the process, just so you know, is it comes into Kyle and team. They send it off to the Synod for vetting, and then if it comes back, then it's an interview possibility.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. Chapter 9 in the Constitution.
Did we revise our requirements? We had a conversation about if we're looking for a pastor that's 12 to 15 years experience. And I think we had a discussion about maybe selecting a newly ordained pastor that has 20 years experience in the church or 15 years experience. So has that been changed in the information?
So the way that our profile is set out there, I think we put years of experience do you remember, Maylin? I think it was like 2 years to 15 or something like that. I'd have to go back and look specifically. But really, whatever profiles are sent to us from the Synod we've been reviewing, even if they've been 2 years or 1 year or just recently, right? Yeah, they don't all fit, right? Just based on experience. Yeah, the question was the Synod will send us something that won't specifically fit our profile. So yes, that's correct. We've reviewed some folks that's been pastors for 25 years, right? And so we got into discussions with them and kind of we decided to move different ways. But then others, it's been 2 years or whichever, right? So it just depends on what the Synod brings. So at this point, we're, of course, reviewing everything they send us. It's only been maybe 5 or 6 profiles overall for the last year. But that's the other thing I want to remind you is Pastor Nathan's been here just over 2 years, right? But our profile has been active just over a year. So we reviewed, like I said, 6 profiles if I'm right. So just keep your prayers for us, for the Synod, for pastors out there. The pool is rather low, as we know. So there's not a lot of folks going through seminary. There's not a lot of active pastors that are looking to move. So just keep your prayers, and we'll keep our eyes and ears open on our end and see what comes through. So.
And you need to know, I've actually been working. I name drop Rejoice every opportunity I get.
All right, and we gave an update in the Joyful Noise, but we're just going to give a quick finance end-of-year update.
Quick end-of-year update. Pastor Nathan talked about we had a great response with the cards, the giving intention cards for this year. We ended well at the end of 2025, and so far for what we have for January, we're off to a good start. We were below our deficit, right? We approved a budget that was significantly higher than what we had. We were a little below that. That's pretty normal for January, but the great news is that we just continue to keep operating as lean as possible, and that made up a good chunk of that deficit that we had. So we're still in one, but I think we're gonna keep moving forward. I think we're in a great place. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, and then we're going to get a quick update from the property committee because they have been busy. So, Tom.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you can hear me. I'm liaison for the property committee to the church council, and I've been asked to give you a little update on what we've done over the past year. One thing I'd like to emphasize right now is we've got two new trees in back. One of them is a replacement for the one that was originally planted about 2 years ago in memory of Mary Lou York. And so we've replaced that tree. In addition, Tom Lund has planted a tree in back. It's a crepe myrtle, very bright red, and that's in memory of Maggie. So just want to emphasize that. Okay. Right back there. In addition, in the backyard, in addition, in the backyard, for the pumpkin patch, the shed was getting deteriorated, trim not in good shape, door falling apart. So we got that repaired and it got repainted. I won't mention a bunch of other things out there, but in the church itself, we installed a water control flow system so that if the water continuously runs on and on, it'll automatically shut off. Hopefully that'll stop some damage as we've had in the past. In the front office area, there's a small office that Aaron used years ago, and it was converted to a storeroom. We have cleared that room and prepared that for the pastor's office. And I guess the major thing we got accomplished last year was the AC in the sanctuary went out. There's a 2-unit system, and one of them was the original unit, and it died. We got that replaced, so we should be good this year and for years to come. I think we have all the old systems are now gone. So that's a brief summary of what we've done. I would like to let you know that the property committee consists of Earl Johnson, Mike Billingsley, and Tom Lund and myself. But if anybody else would like to join in, there are several people out there that we're looking for help. And we got a few members like Reggie and Ed and Paul that are there whenever we need them. So I'd like anybody interested in joining the committee, give me a holler. That's all I got it.
Also, I'm just going to jump on because we talked about it. We also wanted, the property committee is working on building access codes and updating, or codes, policies, and updating those policies, as well as a rekeying of the church that would include some code access, or like keyless access. I'm like, what is that word? So we just want you to know that that is on the agenda. We're working towards that, so we'll give you more updates when that's ready. And then the very last thing that I have, thank you for your patience, is as a council with, we had already planned on honoring a send, and we were looking at different gifts and things like that could be done. And then with newer, like current status and what's going on with Carl, we talked about we would like to host a a Be the Match drive. And if you haven't heard of Be the Match, it is the bone marrow registry. It is super easy to register. So we are going to order some kits. We don't know which Sunday yet, but we're going to order some kits. We're going to get some people trained in how to help people do those kits. I did it for like a friend's birthday party. She did a Be the Match drive, but it really is simple. It's non-invasive. There's a swab, and we would send them in for you. And so then you would then be on the registry to be contacted if you were the match for someone who needed a bone marrow transplant. So look for news on that. And then if anyone else has any announcements or anything, if not, we can do a motion to adjourn. I would entertain that motion. Nyla, we have a second? Okay. Everyone in favor? Anyone want to stay here? Okay, abstentions? And we're done. Thank you guys so much.